Hey guys, what's up? This is Tridib and you're watching a brand new episode of Learn with Tridib. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone from whatever time zone you are logged in. Today's live episode is one of a kind. I know many of us are eagerly waiting to hear the man who doesn't require an introduction when it comes to AI art and his continuous effort to train us how to perfect prompt crafting for Midjourney and create amazing art. Let us put our hands together for Bryan Sykes, brand architect, AI whisperer, author of a brilliant book named AI Explore. Bryan, welcome to Learn with Tridib.
Good morning. Thanks so much, or actually good afternoon for you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to engage in conversation here.
Awesome. So the first question that goes over here, let's start with the first question. Guys, many of us have been really waiting to understand this. Who is, according to you, Bryan, is the real Bryan Sykes?
That's a great question. Bryan Sykes is a 48-year-old man who lives in North Carolina in the United States, and I have a background in marketing, branding, advertising, design. I've ran a small agency since 1999. As of July of this year, I had a huge pivot where my agency kind of took a back seat, and I began focusing on something that I've done for the past 20 years, which is education. As I began looking into that space and opened up doors of opportunity there, AI was coming to the forefront. I was already kind of beginning to explore on the early side of that, and I decided to go ahead and leverage the LinkedIn community and turn around and teach those people behind me what I was learning in AI. And so that's sort of just fell in my lap, and I just took advantage of the opportunity to turn around and help other people with some of the same problems I was running into, which, you jump into a new platform, it's learning as you go and figuring things out as you go. And so I just wanted to help people fast track some of that basic information so the creatives could literally begin hitting the market with using this really cool emerging tool. So that's me in a nutshell. I'm very active guy.
Bryan, tell us something about a book. Many here are eager to know if they are just starting up with Midjourney and they have heard a new edition is also coming up. Are you covering version 4 of Midjourney in this particular book, this edition?
Yes. So I released my first book, which it's based around the theme that I started with LinkedIn, which is AI Explore. And so every day I explore different aspects of learning in AI. So my first book was Prompt Fundamentals, and it was really to help people, how to get started. I did a revision of that book that I released just a couple weeks ago, where in that I went through and rewrote portions of the entire book that focus around how the prompting is affected inside of version 4. So it's basically, that book is called AI Explore Prompt Fundamentals Revision, and I'm in the process of writing book 2, even though this was a kind of for the amount of effort put into it, it was book 2, but I'm writing book 2, which will be lessons 11 through 20, and I mean to carry that forward. And I want to look at both version 3 and version 4, because I'm seeing a lot of people who are still working with the version 3 stuff, especially because of aspect ratio. There's a lot of artistic exploration that can be done in version 3 that I don't think 4 has got yet. So I'm going to try to cover all the different aspects of how to use both platforms.
So, Bryan, many people has been asking me, what is the basic difference that you see of version 3 and version 4? What I felt that version 3 was more inspirational, more artistic. On the other hand, but version 4 is more of creating things perfect in that way. Though the finger things are still wobbly, but I think Midjourney will be very much there.
Yeah, I think your description there is very accurate. Version 3 was definitely very creative. You get a lot of the artistic stuff, where version 4 is definitely more polished and refined. I either heard it or I saw it. Someone was describing what happens in version 4 as Midjourney puts its finger more on weighing the scales towards a more perfect image in version 4. You don't get as much of the creative expression from the creator in version 4, I think. And I think they're going to begin refining that a little bit so that as you're working in version 4, you might see it in your own prompting, where the more complex your prompt is, you begin to lose some of the detail. It's almost like the more engaged that the prompter or the person who's coding is putting the stuff in, it loses some of that personality and the refinement. So I think as we move forward, version 4, maybe version 5 of Midjourney will begin accounting for the creative expression of somebody who's really trying to lay out all the details of, I want it to look like this kind of paper, I want it to look like this kind of media as far as pen, marker, paint, by this style, but still keep that quality that you see in the simple prompt on version 4.
Perfect. I think that has actually answered many of people's question, that whether they're still working with version 3 and they're still thinking whether they will jump to version 4. The other day, if you have seen the splashes things that I have created, so there were questions in the forum that people were asking. They were really not believing that they are not photographed. They were clearly telling. I think you have also read the thing, and it was really, I took it as a compliment that yes, version 4 has really scaled up like anything. It has become like now the photographers. So today I have shared some black and white photographs yesterday, and now I have seen a lot of actual photographers who are actually having their living in photography and all these things. They are actually commenting, and they were thought that these were not prompt crafted. They thought that they were really photographs. So that is a little bit scary in that way. So that brings out to our topic of today. There's a lot of fear, disbelief and scare among design fraternity as such, knowing the current situation of job market worldwide. What do you think? Is AI going to take over? Will people lose their jobs? It is scary that AI has started having its own mind now, like as if it has started thinking and educating itself. So what is your take in this entire thing?
I think AI as a whole is going to have an impact on every industry that's out there. I think of it as, it's sort of like, I was using this description recently. It's sort of like here in the States, washing machines, microwaves, dishwashers, those are part of our ebb and flow. This is just what we use. It's a way to accomplish a task in a faster means. I think as we move forward with AI, we're going to see more and more integration of AI across the platform. It becomes another tool, another part of the process. I don't know if you saw over the weekend where I did the AI Explore around a game concept with the bunny rabbits. I see this becoming a way for people to speed up the process, to get to the result that they're after quicker. I don't think it's something that we need to fear in a negative concept. I think of it as having a really cool tool that's going to multiply your effort. I can get out with a handsaw and with a hammer and nails and put something together, but I can multiply the effort by getting power tools, which are going to speed that process along. I think of AI as kind of like the modern power tools that's going to help creatives in the creative space to amplify what they're able to do and do it so much faster. A lot of people have kind of thrown that out that this is the end of arts. Well, actually it's not. I think I've had more conversations about artists and the quality of their style of painting, like J.C. Leyendecker and different artists were able to explore people that a lot of people weren't even aware of. So I think it's actually expanding on the art opportunity for people in the creative space. And those who aren't necessarily creatively talented, but have a lot of great ideas, AI opens up that door for them to be able to engage and create and produce in a way that was not possible before.
See, the same thing goes for whether you are just starting up with your pencils, arts, and whether you are actually doing it for the exhibitions and all these things. So there are a level for everybody. And what I actually think that it really enhances your way of thinking. Okay.
Yes.
So sometimes I've seen you are having a roadblock in a particular manner. You give some random prompt. and it gives you that beginning, the starting point to explore the thing. And then there are many times I have just given a prompt, got some idea, and then I started the sketching in a real paper. So I do a lot of art myself. I do a lot of exhibitions and all these things. I am into abstract art and hyper realistic art. So I use Midjourney in a total different way altogether. Okay, if I'm stuck with the idea, I give some basic prompt, get some idea, and then I can start with the entire process of making the new art. So there is one question that has come from Nitish. Do you think that we should use AI art for good work instead of random art? That is a very relevant question, I think, which Nitish had asked. That nowadays, you see a lot of people, they are seeing one type of prompt from one particular platform, say for Robo or say Cyberpunk or something like that, and they're using random things to create things. The time has come to use it in a proper way where it can actually enhance your field of work. So that is, if you can touch base on that a little bit.
Sure. I think, we have to learn somewhere. We have to start with something. And I think kind of exploring the different possibilities of, referencing cyberpunk and atom punk and different things like that. Those are kind of interesting explorations because they in each have their own style and personality, and it gives us a frame of reference of how we might be able to use these things in something else. I've actually been able to use my AI art for branding projects. I don't know if you had seen the thing, but what's really neat with AI is being able to kind of say, okay, my client looks like this, and I can create a client profile, and then begin exploring Midjourney as a way to, how do I visually create that? How do I tell that story visually? And I'm able to really use the prompt descriptions based off of the profile that I've created. And what's neat with that is then you get this representative look and feel that's unique for the brand. I think that's a part of this whole process, is figuring out the signature look or the signature style for each project. This has been the nature of the things that I've done for the past 20 some years, is I don't come in and create something for the new client based off of things I've done for 20 other clients. I start with that individual client and I create a unique look that's for them. So maybe there might be a client in the future that Atom Punk would be a neat fit for them. Who knows? So being aware of that is really, really neat. But also you can get the flavor and the personality, like I mentioned, the color sets, the styling, the different elements that show up with different styles. So yeah, I think it's important to use the tools towards productive work, not just, kind of playing around. I think playing around is how we learn, but as you learn, and you can then begin applying. So you can practice all day long on how to get better at making perfect shading with a pencil, but the goal is ultimately to be able to create actual artwork. So I think that's what our goal is to figure out how to make this a useful tool. That's really something I've been trying to focus on, and I've seen you doing the same thing, which is, how do we take this tool and leverage it as a tool that's productive? And I think this is where we're all kind of moving with Midjourney and with DALL-E and Stable Diffusion, is how do we not just have fun with this creative space, but make it something that's practical?
Yeah, I have seen Nitish, Pratyush, they are also doing a similar thing. They are taking a campaign and trying to put their AI art in that way. Personally, I am a UX professional. User experience is my daily work. So like you told about the customer profiling, I also do a lot of customer profiling. The entire customer profiling process can be done through Midjourney in a fantastic way. Actually, you feed in the detail, 45 years old, male, Indian, these, that, and you actually get that type of profiling that Midjourney can build up, and you then design your scene accordingly. It is fantastic.
The results that I've been seeing that you produced are fantastic. They're not just, I describe what Midjourney creates as very polished thumbnails, because you've got something that's usable in the sense of giving you the right steps to take forward, but it's truly mid-journey. It's in the midst of the journey that you're taking to create a finished product. We're not at the place where you put in the prompt and it spits out something that you now upload as HTML, but it gives you a really solid concept, and it's great for showing to customers. It's great for putting concepts together. So I think it's brilliant space for that.
So believe me, I was literally experimenting with a lot of UI designs pertaining to various verticals. I was
Okay.
totally blown away by the sheer spread of designs that these guys are offering. It's
Right.
amazing. It's amazing. And many guys have also asked me if I can share the prompt and all these things. So yeah, prompt can be shared. But what I personally think that prompt crafting is a journey by itself. It is not a mid destination, but a mid journey where we
Sure.
are. It's a process. If you are just taking a prompt and trying it out, I don't think so. You are achieving a lot. Okay, because in that way your mental sense is totally blocked in that way. So it is a learning process. It is either hit or miss. Many times
Right.
I've given a prompt which has given hilarious results, or totally so I cancel the job. But the thing is that many times I have seen that if you are just taking somebody else's prompt and putting it, you are not actually utilizing your visualization skill. Okay, that
Yeah.
brings up to the next question. So there are many of you have asked that how Bryan plans himself when he's starting to do a prompt crafting, and whether it is a scene or a character design or a 3D model, how you start with the things and how much time
Sure.
you actually spend every day in doing prompt crafting.
I probably spend at least an hour and a half to 2 hours every morning, and that what I do in that space is typically started the night before. So it's 2 hours in the morning is actually doing some of the renders, writing up the copy that I'm explaining how I'm doing things. And then throughout the day, I try to answer questions with people on LinkedIn. Towards the ending of the day, which is somewhere between 9 and 12, randomly I'll jump on and look at some different aspects of seeing what other people are doing, get inspiration, try a few things. And as far as how I come up with the ideas, this morning was actually one that was a conversation with my wife yesterday, where she said, wouldn't it be interesting to see the mascots for different cereals in doing something totally different? You know, like what if they had a life outside of the cereal box mascot? What would they do? And so I just began exploring that idea. And being an artist with art history background, you know, as far as that was part of my studies in college, I'm familiar with a lot of different artists, and plus you can explore on your own and find different artists. And so, you know, you find styles of different people that are doing interesting things, and you carry that personality over into the look and the feel of what you're doing. So this morning I had Tony the Tiger, and I had the Rice Krispie guys. But each of these I was pretty much using, I'm looking over my old prompt from this morning and stuff. But I'm trying to get an idea that's got a personality behind it. And each time I'm looking at a focused lesson, you know, what is something that I can give them where, yeah, there's a lot of prompt to it, but I want them to focus on one piece of the prompt and how that can make a change. And so a lot of times the prompt is 9/10 repeatable. You know, you'll look at my multiple copies and it's almost all the same, and all I do is change one piece of that. And the reason I want to show people that is because of how impactful word order is, how impactful, you know, word choice can be. I don't know if you saw the crazy thing I did with He-Man, and on the back of that, I decided to do Battle Cat. Well, trying to get Midjourney to understand that Battle Cat is supposed to be on all fours like a cat was very challenging. And this was, you know, I wanted to share the challenge associated with it, because a lot of times people just see the finished result. So if here's, you know, 8 to 20 images and here's the prompt, well, it doesn't happen that way. You know, there's a lot more that went in the background. And so I like to show every once in a while the challenge associated with creating a prompt, the things that you run into as you're stepping through that process. So it's a very trial and error effort. And, you know, as you go along with Midjourney, you get to a place where you learn to speak the language of Midjourney. You understand how to talk to DALL-E and Stable Diffusion to kind of get the result. But I'm always pushing the boundary of what if I do something I haven't done before? This is where I began opening up doors and running into walls, because I can take an existing prompt, but to do this new thing, I've got to explore and try it out. So a lot of times you don't see all the failures. You don't see the challenges of trying to make this thing work. So that's kind of my process, is once I nail down a prompt that's repeatable, That's my goal, is to give people a good solid prompt that's reliable, it's going to do what you want it to do, and then show you how you can tweak that to keep getting multiple variations working within that framework.
Yeah. It happens a lot of time when you are trying to do typography. And at this point of time, I think many of us have also tried typography, but you cannot have a word. You have to do individual alphabet, and then you have to mix match things. And in that time, you get hilarious results actually, if you try to mix match stuffs and all these things. Yeah, so people don't know actually. So that is the exact thing I'm trying to tell over here, that getting a prompt, because there are a lot of platforms, online platforms that are readily available, where like prompt-based AI and all these things, where you can purchase prompts and all these things. So the thing is that the journey, the creativity, the failure, you will never get through this particular route if you are just purchasing prompt. But what happens when you are failing n number of times, you are also understanding that I should never give this type of prompt. I should not use 2 asterisks. Sometimes it so happens when people are trying to prompt Midjourney with an image to image, and there is 2 asterisks at in the beginning. They start getting a lot of memes. Okay, so you have to remove that asterisk. So these are the small things that we have to understand, that how Midjourney treats a basic prompt. So yes, it is absolutely. So there is one person, Juan Carlos has told, I had a bad experience with Midjourney. I prompted dogs at the punk group, the Sex Pistols, and guess what? Midjourney blocked the prompt. Obviously, there are certain cuss words and certain prompt words that you cannot use in Midjourney. And the thing is that if you use it multiple times, you will be totally blocked. So be very careful.
Yeah, and it's funny, some of the words that are blocked. I've come across this multiple times. The word cutting, for instance, is not allowed. And I was trying to show a person cutting a piece of steak, but cutting is not available. So that's another thing, is finding the words that's going to allow you to get to the result you're after. I'm not trying to break rules or do something that's illegal. I'm literally trying to have a guy cutting steak. But that's a word that's not allowed. So this is something that's part of the process. Is learning to speak the language.
Midjourney also has to understand that sometimes cutting can be a really useful word. Say, for example, I was trying to write the other day, cutting a piece of pizza. It was not allowing, so I had to write dissect and all those things. Those things are absolutely there. So comes the next question quickly. As you know, Bryan, the Stable Diffusion 2.0 has also come up. And have you tried hands-on that yet? Or you really feel happy with Midjourney and don't want to go into other platforms currently?
I've actually tried all the platforms so far that I know of. I enjoy kind of dabbling in the other things and seeing where they are. Now, I spent a lot of time in Stable Diffusion. I've enjoyed what I was doing there. I like even Google's Colab Disco Diffusion. That's a fun one to kind of play with.
Yes.
I like the idea of being able to set a prompt, tell it to run it 50 times, and just watching it spit them out, in the background. That's really neat. Disco, on Stable Diffusion, I've jumped in that over the weekend trying to try version 2, and I kept running into the server was busy. It couldn't take any more people. So I'm going to get in there before this week's over. I'll be interested in seeing what they've done as far as updating that system. There's a lot of my connections on LinkedIn who do a lot in both Stable Diffusion and on DALL-E 2. I like what they're producing, and I don't want to, I don't have this exclusive mindset where Midjourney's the end-all be-all. I do enjoy seeing what other platforms are doing, and I think it's a collaborative effort. I'm from the generation when they had Freehand and Illustrator at the same time. Both were vector-based tools. They were great, and I actually preferred Freehand. That got dropped when Adobe bought Illustrator. But that's part of the thing, is that collaborative back and forth is actually what prompts and moves the platforms to do even better things. So it's really interesting to watch and see how they grow and continue to evolve, I guess, as tools.
I use a lot of DALL-E, particularly. I think you might be also using it to save the hands. the wobbly fingers, so you can just
Yeah.
paint over the things, and DALL-E does a very very good job in that particular thing to save the
Yeah.
hands in that way. I think we all hope that Midjourney solves that thing. Midjourney has given us a lot, I think, but it is still wobbling with the fingers and all these. There are certain things that they
It
skip.
does.
Yeah, so that is the thing where I use DALL-E a lot. But one thing of Stable Diffusion, I still think that it has to make it more consumer friendly. Since it is an
Agreed.
open platform, many of the developers, they use Stable Diffusions a lot, because there
Right.
is a steep curve in installing Stable Diffusion in your computer and
Right.
get things running. Okay, so I think they have to make that entry level, though there are basic level of Windows installations and all these things are available, but
Yeah.
that is a cut down version of the actual Stable Diffusion in that way. I
Agreed.
think that journey has to be made easier, so that every artists are not programmers, so they will not be able to do
Right.
a lot of stuff, and they will feel a restriction and they will move out from the platform. So we
Right.
have to have a open entry point, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's actually probably the most detrimental aspect to Stable Diffusion and Disco and several of the other platforms that are out there, simply because the entry point is too complicated. Even though it's well written, there's a lot of good documents to find that'll walk you through the process. It's intimidating to people that are in the creative fields.
Mostly
to try
for
to jump
creative
into these
people.
things.
Mostly for creative
Yeah.
people. They don't want too much of brainstorming to enter the platform before actually starting and experiencing
Right.
the platform. So that
Yeah.
way, I think some way. So next question comes: what is the future of Midjourney for 3D models? In the sense, do you foresee that we might be able to create 3D models as output in the future, or maybe or it can be a cheap and dirty way where we can have say 15 degrees angles or 10-degree angles,
Right.
turntable sort of 3D things which Midjourney can churn out.
Yeah, I think that's happening and going to be happening soon. There's actually a group that I'm in contact with off of LinkedIn that's in India that's working on a 3D version of the AI. Their biggest challenge, of course, is creating the models. There's so much training that has to be done in the 3D space. So it's one thing to create a visual interpretation of something the way Midjourney and DALL-E and Stable Diffusion does. It's another thing for that to have an understood 3D product in space that it can work from. Now, there's some really interesting things happening. Like Unreal Engine has the characters that you can develop, where those are kind of cool. You can develop those, and then you can import those and use those to train your Stable Diffusion profiles. You can do the image to image inside of Midjourney with that. But I really think that it's only going to be a matter of another year before we're seeing the 3D space fully blowing up in the AI world. I mean, imagine the things that we can do already with Midjourney, being able to do that and export true 3D products that we can take into Blender and 3D Studio Max and some of those platforms. That's going to change everything, whether it's furniture development, product development, whether it's gaming, that becomes very impactful. I think the 3D element is just a matter of the steps and the time of training the platforms for understanding a physical product. Because right now, Midjourney does not see a picture. It sees pixels, and the pixels are based off of, looking at a million other images and then compiling those based off of, an algorithm and whatever else. Doesn't have the complexity of understanding that this is a human being with a face, with ears. It's basically duplicating something else's scene. That's the reason it runs into finger issues. It's not really counting fingers. It's just creating something that represents an idea. So 3D, I think, is right on the heels of that. But I think, as we're kind of even looking at the 3D space, for you, what do you think the scene is like for the UI UX space?
Yeah, that is a fantastic question. Very, very close to my heart in that way, Bryan. Yes, I am still not seeing a lot happening in the user experience per se, but definitely it's a huge move that has happened in the UI design space, in the user interface design space, because whatever we have fed in the version 3 and version 2, now we are trying to get that type of results. I can see much clearer where they understand. So you have seen some of my videos which I have done, where I have actually fed in a wireframe, and it has given me a fully blown design in that scene. Even where I have sketched a person having the hands like this, the replication of the actual image was also the person is having the hand like this. So that level Midjourney had started understanding. Okay, and even the type of output I am getting now in the UI space is very good. Okay, even it is giving me a basic idea how do I want to lay out a screen that is a gaming purpose, that is for VR, that is for an engineering company, and so on and so forth. So I think that level of understanding has already come in. Whether we have consistent level of same imagery across various pages, that it's still not there, which if it is been cracked, that how the home page is looking and how the internal pages are looking, I think there the game that will be a real game changer over there. And obviously Midjourney is still failing in that typographic element, but for me it's very easy. I just make it bare bone, I remove everything, I type in out things, and the end result, when I feed in Figma or something, the end result is amazing. I can really see the type of UI design that I can really achieve.
So I think the text is almost...
Somebody have asked, Juan Carlos Lopez has asked, where are these UX UI videos? So you can see these videos in my previous live streaming in my channel, that is Learn with Tridib. Just go over there. There are a lot of Midjourney, UX, UI, lots of gyan and lots of knowledges are there. So you can just go to Learn with Tridib and you can check in YouTube. So I think that is a good place, that is a good hub where you can see all these related videos. I just want this video, this particular live session, more of Bryan, understanding from Bryan. I don't want to show my stuff in this particular video as such and take away time from there. It will go on coming as you follow me, as you see me in LinkedIn, things will go on coming. And I have already posted lately about the UX, the UI design things that I have done, about 22 different category where I have tried the commands with Midjourney. So you can have the, if you are feeling lazy, you can take the prompts from me, but it has a cost associated to it. It's a very less cost, but it is majorly the time and effort and the number of prompts that I have reiterated. I have spent almost 10 to 15 days to get the things. So if you can, if you really want it, you can have it from me. So that's not a problem. Over to Bryan for his next question. Bryan, you have to share us some tips about how you keep consistent characters throughout a comic strip.
This is really interesting. So it depends. It depends on the challenge of what you're using to describe your character. So again, like I was mentioning before, when I create a prompt, I typically create where I'm only changing minutia in the prompt itself in order to make the refinements. And by creating that structure of here's what the guy looks like, here's the details of the artist inspiration, that's where it's been created from, it allows me to then kind of create a repeatable look and feel. You have to be as descriptive as you can be in that definition. Like if one of my characters I've called Green Egg Greg, and this is for a person that likes grilling, and I just gave him the profile name of Greg. And Green Egg is a style of Komodo style grill that's basically an enclosed egg shape. And so with this profile, I defined what he looks like, how old he is, some different personalities of colors that would be prevalent. And that allows me then to kind of have a very repeatable look and feel to the design. So you can go about it that way. Another is you can do the image to image of having a profile or a visual that you're referencing. And so I want this to be my character, bring him in, and then add the description of Green Egg Greg based off of this image, and it makes an association. So then the actions and whatever I pose this person in has a consistent look and feel. You can bring in multiple images, which is really nice for training the Midjourney, and that's how you're able to create that repeatable look and feel.
Absolutely awesome. And also, as you mentioned this thing, I've seen 2-3 things works very well. Midjourney wants to relate a prompt to a name. So if you add that this is a character, give whatever random name to that person. Agreed. And mention. So if you see the latest comic strip that I have created, The Hunt, where you have continuous 2 people talking and all these things throughout a lot of pages. Right. I got the consistent this thing because I had created 2 sets of people and with all the angles. That is a very important thing, that so you create the characters beforehand and then start giving them actions. So first define the people, create different poses, and give them the work what they want to do. So this is the way Midjourney works in that way.
And you still have to go back and describe them, even if you're giving them a different setting.
Absolutely.
So, I can't just say now Green Egg Greg and it's going to recall all the things I've said about him. I still have to describe a little bit about him and then give him an action or give him a setting of what I want him to be doing in that space. So the same concept. And you're right, giving the characters a name makes it easier for Midjourney to kind of tie it all together. This goes back to when I did a series of IKEA-based toys. I gave them each unique, funny little names, and it allows it seems to manage way better when it has a reference of this as a physical product or something it can associate with. It does a better job of actually creating.
Absolutely. That is really the core of how to make character designs in Midjourney. As of now, it might change in the future, but because Midjourney is also learning from us, maybe later on we need not to give a name or something like that. They will understand and take these things forward from there. Bryan, if you can give some idea to my subscribers, my viewers, how to give fantastic lighting and camera effect. You have done fantastic work in these 2 particular field. That how lighting works makes the scene ethereal, makes the scenes scary. So if you can talk a little bit about lighting and camera settings, that will be really great.
Sure. So the camera settings is a lot of fun. You got to think in relation to your image of framing the setting. You've got to come up with an idea. Okay, so what time of day is this event taking place? Let Midjourney know. Is it morning? Is it midday? Is it just before dusk? What kind of lighting is taking place? Make that part of your description. The other thing is there's some neat ways we can leverage terminology inside of Midjourney that create some very interesting results. One of those is the term cinematic, because cinematic, there's a whole plethora of movies and film and everything that's made use of this. So the idea of cinematic lighting, cinematic shadows, that brings in a very interesting compositional add to your visuals. The images are more compelling. There's more. It's perfectly staged. Everything looks great. The other thing is when you're dealing with light, maybe you want to have beams of light hitting the subject. That is called a God ray. So if you reference a God ray with beam of light hitting your subject, then it understands what that is and it can create that. So you really have to become descriptive in the kind of wording you use to describe the setting. If you go back and follow me and then take a look at the posts that I've done over the past couple of weeks, I spent a lot of time talking about composition, about framing your setting, about different camera angles. Those are all incorporated into helping make things set up just the way you want it to. Again, lighting is really the key of a good visual. So making sure that the lighting that you try to use works with the story you're trying to tell.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Guys, anybody has any question you want to ask Bryan? 3 questions will be entertained at this point of time for the share. I don't want to bore Bryan with lots of questions, but yeah, I think this is a very, very interesting session that we had currently. I hope Bryan also is pretty happy with the discussion that we are having. So many people are asking when is the volume 2 coming out, or should we wait for volume 3?
Yeah, volume 2 should be out within the next couple of weeks. I've actually got 7 books on my whiteboard right here that I'm working on, and so my next one is going to be called so it's AI Explore. As all my books will be labeled, but this will be Tips, Tricks, and Rules to Break. So that's what my next volume is going to be, and it's really because it's some of the common questions I keep running into where people are kind of like, okay, I don't like the questions we've addressed this morning for me. Are related to, okay, what are things that we can do for consistency? How do we, begin a prompt? How do we even know where to get started? How do we play with these things? Probably my 3rd book that's coming out, I plan on doing something focused totally around photography, because there's so much dealing with the visual space. If you understand camera angles, you understand lighting, you understand variations of depth of field, you understand all these things, it changes the whole look and feel of what you're creating. So that's what I'm hoping to have. And I plan on having both of those books.
And the best thing is that Midjourney can actually do all of them. They can actually mimic DSLR. So, so all the f-stops, all the ISO, everything you can put in. You can have telephoto, you can have zoom, everything is possible through giving the right command over there. So Bryan, since this is your show in that way, I just wanted a last minute to showcase some of my the work that I have done. So if you guys can see the screen, so there is a host of loads of category that I have covered. So there are AR VR, if you can see a lot of AR VR sort of UI things I have done. It is an event, you can use it for a AR VR event.
Nice.
So there are a lot of chocolate website if somebody really wants to create something about chocolates. So there is a lot of website designs I have for chocolates. I'm a non-vegetarian, so there are some level of chicken, fried chickens and all these things that is there. You can have some dating website like this, which is there in this collection. So type of screens that we can do with this thing. Then coming to a very rugged designs like an engineering firm or something like that. So you can see the entire layout is very well done. You just need to now take these layouts and you can put your text in. So everything, how they have given a mock-up, you can really take inspiration from these things. And images you can separately create in Midjourney, or you can take stock photography and your layout is done in that way. So if people are interested, even in a future level, I can create Figma art. So this is for a real estate, a futuristic real estate company who wants to sell real estate projects for their dream planet or something like that. You can also create. So the layout is already there. So you just need to understand where to put what. So this is a hair care brand. So this is a lot of work that has gone over here. Brand, if you can understand that the level of failures that goes into while creating these stuffs. And then, so there is a good amount of things, mountaineering website. So whoever is interested, they can ask for the prompts. So it's a VR based gaming things that you can have. Lovely, means see the quality of layouts that these guys are doing, and many of them has been prompt crafted from a wireframe. So I have fed in wireframe and they have exactly replicated what I want. So when we are talking about that, think about this type of thing. It's a mineral water website where I have given Bisleri as the prompt. So it has given in a different thing, but you can see the layouts all fantastic. It understands the grammar, it understands the golden ratio, it understands everything, where to put a particular object. Wherever I have placed the bottle, it has exactly replicated the bottle in that particular position. So even for say for example a senior citizen here, as soon as I give this type of thing, see the softer nuances coming in, lovely smiling older citizen people and all these things that is there. So there is a good amount of 22 different categories that I have done over there. So if you really want to have, you can ask me at any point of time. I don't want to bore you again. So yeah, coming to next question, Bryan, somebody is the next version of Midjourney going to be called End Journey?
I think it'll stay Midjourney.
Yeah. And then there is another question: how to deal with the output size of the image, like a 1920 by 1080?
Yeah, so that's something I heard. David is the guy who started Midjourney. He recently spoke about this, that they're working on the aspect ratio. They'll have that pretty soon for version 4, which I'm excited about because the aspect ratio is a huge element to what I do. That's so great for composition. The other thing is, he said they're also going to work on the output image size. Already, your exports inside of Midjourney with version 4 are bigger than version 3 by default, but I'm looking forward to where it automatically scales up to something like what Gigapixel is able to create, from recreating your stuff. I would love to see that happening inside of Midjourney. That would revolutionize the platform as a whole.
Absolutely.
I would love to see that.
You don't require a third-party platform to upscale your images. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And plus it keeps and maintains the personality of the product that you're working in. So when you take it into a third party and upscale it, it's using an AI algorithm in order to recreate. Just like you drop something into DALL-E and Stable Diffusion from Midjourney, it's going to have a slight tweak on the look and the feel, where if it stays within the platform you created in and it expands from that, you're going to get a better look.
Yeah, and I will be really, really excited to see how people are using photo AI from Topaz, where you can actually play with the focus of the camera after you have created the Midjourney thing. So if you have a blur camera in the front and a sharpened photo, you can actually reverse the camera thing after you have created it. That's pretty awesome actually. Yeah. So guys, that's all for today. I think we had a fantastic session with Bryan. Maybe we will have another one when he releases his next book, next edition. We will definitely have, because many times after a particular launch, the author may be ready to talk more about that thing, what is included in this. And Bryan, you are always welcome to this platform.
Thank you.
It is a fantastic sharing a lot of knowledge over here. I think all the viewers, they must have loved this session, because we have captured more or less all their questions within this small span of time. And wish you all the best, Bryan, with your new book. Hopefully I will also try to create my comic book, which I am graphic novel, which I am working on but we are all busy with our lives, I think. So there is a last question: can I sell AI art?
There's a trick with that. So I think as we move forward, we're going to see this showing up in different ways. So yes and no. Yes, you can sell the AI art. You'll look on Etsy and you'll check out different platforms where Redbubble, people are sharing printed shirts and things with art that's done. What you run into with AI, Midjourney, DALL-E, Stable Diffusion, is you do not have copyright protection on the artwork the moment that it's created. It's just an image. It's now sitting as an accessible file. You cannot take that and try to sell that image to, say, like a file sharing or image sharing thing where you can buy, copies of that work to use and other things. But as soon as you take that image and you manipulate it inside of Photoshop or Illustrator or InDesign or one of those applications, video, you've now had hand engagement with the product, and it becomes your product. You've made it something new. So that's the way you can work with those things. So manipulating the image so that it's more yours and then manipulated by hand allows you to have that right and that privilege of being able to sell.
Very, very relevant question and fantastic answer, Bryan. I think that's the way we can say goodbye and
Certainly.
God bless. Have fantastic year ahead. And we are just before the Christmas and all these things. May the new year come with a lot of new things from Midjourney and all the other AI platforms. Look forward to it. Okay.
Certainly.
Bye. Bye, guys.
Bye, sir.
Bye,
Thank
Bryan.
you.
Bye.